My son invited me to live with him after my heart attack, said he wanted to take care of me. That was the first lie. The second was telling everyone I was his father. He didn't. The third was telling my lawyer I'd had a mental breakdown and didn't want visitors. I found out he'd been intercepting my calls for weeks, but I didn't understand why until the night he threw garbage bags at my 75-year-old body and shoved me out his front door. No wallet, no money, nothing. 3 nights I slept under a highway overpass. 8 scraps from strangers' plates, heart-skipping beats in my chest. On the 3rd morning, holding a cardboard sign that said 75 years old and hungry, I finally made one phone call. That's when my son discovered the difference between running a company and owning one. Let me tell you how I ended up with that cardboard sign. I raised Michael alone. His mother left when he was 4 years old, packed a suitcase while he was at preschool, left a note on the kitchen table, and vanished. No forwarding address, no phone calls, no birthday cards, just gone. So I did both jobs, father and mother, packed his lunches, coached his little league team, helped with homework until midnight, built a commercial real estate development company from nothing while making sure that boy never felt abandoned twice. 35 years I built Whitmore Development. Started with one small strip mall in Beaverton, grew it into one of Portland's most respected firms, 62 properties across Oregon and Washington, 212 employees. I owned 82% of the company. The remaining 18% belonged to 2 early investors who'd believed in me when I had nothing but blueprints and determination. When Michael turned 32, I made him Chief Operating Officer, $350,000 a year. I wanted him to learn the business from the inside, wanted him to earn the respect of our employees before he inherited everything. That salary bought him an 8-bedroom mansion in Portland's West Hills, German cars in the driveway, private schools for my grandchildren, a wife who'd never worked a day in her life. But somewhere along the way, Michael stopped being grateful, started being embarrassed. He'd grown up watching me work 16-hour days in steel-toed boots and hard hats. Now he wore Italian suits and entertained clients at country clubs. My calloused hands and working-class accent reminded him of everything he wanted to forget. 3 years ago, I stepped back from daily operations, let Michael run things while I enjoyed a quieter life. I was 72. I'd earned it. Then came the heart attack. It wasn't serious. Doctors said I'd recover fully with medication and rest, but I couldn't manage my house alone during recovery, so Michael offered to let me stay with him. I should have seen it for what it was, not generosity, obligation he resented with every breath, but I was his father, and I still loved him. That was my first mistake. The first week, I told myself it was adjustment. New house, new rhythms, everyone needed time. By the second week, I understood the truth. I ate every meal alone, breakfast in my room before anyone woke up, lunch while Michael was at the office, dinner on a tray, door closed, while the family ate downstairs. His wife Jennifer said it was easier that way, less disruption to the children's routine. The children. Lily was 8, Thomas was 6. They were the only light in that house. They'd sneak up to my room after dinner, crawl onto my bed and beg for stories. I'd read to them for hours. Adventure books, fairy tales, the same stories I'd read to Michael when he was small. Lily would fall asleep against my shoulder. Thomas would ask question after question until his eyes couldn't stay open. Those moments kept me alive. Then Jennifer decided I was confusing their routine. She told Michael the children were tired at school, that my stories were overstimulating them before bed, that I needed to stop. Michael didn't argue. He just told me the new rule: no more bedtime stories. The children needed structure. I watched Lily's face when she came to my door, and I had to turn her away. She didn't understand. Neither did I. The dinner parties were worse. Michael and Jennifer entertained constantly. Clients, colleagues, country club friends. The dining room filled with laughter and expensive wine while I sat upstairs in silence. Once, I came down for water during a party, just walked through the kitchen. A guest saw me and smiled politely. Michael appeared instantly. "This is the old man who lives here," he said, his hand on my elbow, steering me toward the stairs. Firm grip, smile that didn't reach his eyes. Not my father, not Dad, the old man who lives here. I heard the guest ask a question as I climbed the stairs. Michael laughed and said something about charity cases. Jennifer complained constantly. 8 bedrooms in that mansion, and somehow my presence was suffocating. I heard her through the walls. Why is he still here? When is he leaving? This isn't what I signed up for. I tried to be invisible, stayed in my room, kept the television low, took my walks when the family was out, used the bathroom down the hall so I wouldn't disturb anyone. None of it was enough. Michael started looking through me, not at me, through me, like I was furniture, like I was a stain on the carpet he was too polite to mention. I thought about leaving, finding my own place. But the doctors wanted someone monitoring my recovery, and truthfully, I wanted to be near my grandchildren, even if I couldn't read to them anymore. So I stayed, and I shrank, made myself smaller and smaller until I barely existed. Then came the Hartwell dinner. Michael had been pursuing the Hartwell account for 8 months. Commercial development project worth $12 million. The clients were coming to the house for a formal dinner. Everything had to be perfect. The morning of the dinner, Michael knocked on my door. First time in weeks. His instructions were clear. Stay in my room from 5 o'clock onward. No coming downstairs for any reason. No noise. No evidence that anyone else lived in this house. The Hartwells were traditional. They wouldn't understand why a grown man's elderly father lived with him. I asked what I was supposed to do if I needed something. Michael looked at me like I'd asked something absurd. Figure it out, he said, and don't embarrass me. He closed the door. I sat on my bed and stared at the wall. What I didn't know yet was that I'd left my blood pressure medication in the kitchen that morning. The Hartwell dinner started at 7. I heard cars arriving, voices in the foyer, Jennifer's practiced laugh floating up the stairs. I lay on my bed and watched the ceiling. By 9:30, my head was pounding. That dull pressure behind my eyes that meant trouble. I checked my nightstand, bathroom counter, jacket pockets. My blood pressure medication wasn't there. I'd left it in the kitchen that morning, on the counter by the coffee maker. I could picture the orange bottle sitting there. The pressure built. My doctor had been clear about missing doses. After a heart attack, consistency mattered. Skipping medication wasn't an option. I listened at my door, voices from the dining room, distant, contained. Maybe I could slip down the back stairs, through the kitchen, grab the bottle and disappear. 30 seconds. No one would see me. I opened my door slowly. The hallway was empty. I moved toward the back staircase, but I'd forgotten about the bathroom. The guest bathroom was at the bottom of those stairs, and one of the Hartwell guests had just stepped out of it. We nearly collided. A woman in her 60s, pearl necklace, kind face. She smiled and apologized. Then Michael appeared. I watched his expression change, confusion to recognition to something cold and hard. "Dad!" His voice was quiet, controlled. "What are you doing down here?" "My medication. I left it in the kitchen. I just need—" The woman looked between us. "This is your father?" She seemed pleased. "How wonderful that he lives with you." Michael's smile could have frozen water. "Yes, he's been staying with us while he recovers. He was just going back upstairs. Weren't you, Dad?" It wasn't a question. I mumbled an apology, grabbed my medication from the kitchen counter, climbed the stairs with my head down. Behind me, I heard Michael explaining. "Dementia," he said. "Early stages. So sad. I didn't have dementia. I had a son who wished I didn't exist." The Hartwells left at 11. I heard the front door close. Heard Jennifer say something about it going well. Then footsteps on the stairs. Michael didn't knock, just opened the door. His face was red, hands shaking. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" I tried to explain. "The medication, the doctor's orders, the risk." He wasn't listening. 8 months. 8 months I've been working on this deal, and you shuffle down there like some senile old man and humiliate me in front of the most important clients of my career. I told him I was sorry, that I hadn't meant to cause problems, that it wouldn't happen again. "You're right, it won't happen again." He disappeared, came back with garbage bags, black, industrial size, started pulling my clothes from the closet, shoving them into the bags. "What are you doing?" My voice sounded strange, thin. "What I should have done months ago." "Michael, please, I'm your father." He stopped, looked at me, and I saw it clearly for the first time. Not anger, not frustration, hatred. "You're an embarrassment. You've always been an embarrassment. Your cheap suits, your dirty fingernails, your pathetic stories about building things with your hands. I spent my whole life trying to escape where I came from. And here you are, reminding everyone." He threw the garbage bags at my feet. "Get out. It's 11 at night. Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care. My wallet, my money, it's in the kitchen." "Not anymore." He grabbed my arm. I'm 75 years old. He's 43. The difference in strength wasn't close. He pushed me down the hallway, down the stairs, through the foyer. The front door opened. Cold November air hit my face. He shoved me through it, threw the garbage bags after me. One of them split open on the driveway. I turned around, knocked on the door. Michael, my wallet. I have nothing. His face appeared in the window beside the door. Knock again, and I'm calling the police. You're trespassing on my property. The lights went off. I stood in the driveway at 11:17 on a Tuesday night. 75 years old. No wallet, no money, no phone charger. 2 garbage bags of clothes, and nowhere to go. The first night I walked until I couldn't walk anymore. Portland in November. Temperature in the low 40s. Drizzle that never quite stopped. I had a jacket but no hat, no gloves. My dress shoes soaked through within an hour. I found a highway overpass around 2 in the morning. Concrete embankment, dry underneath. Other shapes already there. Sleeping bags and cardboard. I didn't look too closely, just found an empty spot and sat with my back against the cold concrete. I didn't sleep, couldn't stop shaking. When the sun came up, I started walking again. Needed to find food, needed to find warmth, needed to figure out what to do next. My phone had 14% battery, no charger. I couldn't waste it. That first day, I learned how invisible old men become. I stood outside a coffee shop for 3 hours, asking people for spare change. Most walked past like I wasn't there. A few dropped coins without looking at me. One woman told me to get a job. I'm 75, I said. She was already gone. By afternoon, I'd collected $4.67, enough for a small coffee and a day-old muffin. I sat in the corner of the shop until they asked me to leave. The second night, I found a park bench. Worse than the overpass, more exposed. Wind cut through my jacket like it wasn't there. I tucked my garbage bags under my head as pillows. When I woke up, one bag was gone. Someone had taken it while I slept. Half my clothes. The picture of Michael as a boy that I'd kept in my suitcase for 30 years. Gone. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. By the second day, my body started failing. My heart fluttered at strange intervals, skipped beats, raced for no reason. I'd missed 2 days of medication. The bottle was still in my jacket pocket, but I couldn't take pills without water. My mouth was too dry. I found a public library, pretended to read while I charged my phone near an outlet. Got it to 11% before a librarian asked if I needed help. No thank you, I said. Just reading. She looked at my clothes, my unwashed face, the garbage bag at my feet. She knew, but she let me stay another hour. That night, I ate for the first time in 36 hours. A restaurant on Burnside had outdoor tables. After the dinner rush, busboys cleared plates into bins near the sidewalk. I waited until no one was watching. Found half a steak, cold potatoes, some kind of salad with most of it still there. I ate standing in an alley behind the building, hands shaking, stomach cramping from the sudden food. This is what I'd become. The third morning, I made a sign, found cardboard behind a grocery store, borrowed a marker from a woman at a bus stop, wrote in letters as neat as I could manage. 75 years old and hungry. Please help. I sat behind a breakfast restaurant, the back entrance, where deliveries came, where no one would run me off for a few hours. The morning was cold, gray. My chest hurt with every breath, and that's when it hit me. I might die here, on this concrete, behind this restaurant, holding this cardboard sign. And 3 miles away, my son was waking up in an 8-bedroom mansion, driving a car I paid for, going to a job that existed because I built something from nothing. He'd thrown me away like garbage, and I'd almost let him get away with it. Almost. Because sitting there in the cold, I remembered one thing Michael had clearly forgotten. I still had 11% battery, and I still had Gerald Walsh's phone number. Gerald Walsh had been my attorney for 28 years. He'd handled every contract, every acquisition, every legal matter for Whitmore Development since I bought my third property. We'd had dinner at each other's homes. He'd spoken at my wife's memorial service. When Michael graduated business school, Gerald had given him a watch. I trusted him completely. My hands shook as I dialed. 11% battery, 1 chance. He answered on the second ring. Gerald, it's Harold. Silence. Then his voice, confused, careful. Harold, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Michael said you were at a private recovery facility, said you didn't want any calls or visitors. I closed my eyes. Gerald, I'm sitting behind a restaurant on Burnside. I've been homeless for 3 days. My son threw me out of his house with nothing, no wallet, no money. I'm sleeping under bridges. More silence. Longer this time. Say that again. So I told him everything. The meals alone in my room, being introduced as the old man who lives here, the garbage bags, the 11 o'clock eviction, the concrete and the cold and the cardboard sign. By the end, I was crying. Couldn't help it. 3 days of holding everything together, and now it came pouring out. Gerald's voice changed. The careful confusion became something harder. Harold, listen to me carefully. Where exactly are you right now? I told him the cross streets. Don't move. I'm coming to get you. And, Harold? Yes, your son made a very serious mistake. My phone died before I could ask what he meant. 40 minutes later, Gerald's black sedan pulled into the alley. He got out and looked at me. Really looked. The dirty clothes, the garbage bag, the cardboard sign still in my hand. He didn't say anything, just helped me into the car. We drove in silence for a few minutes. Then Gerald spoke. Michael has been telling everyone you're incapacitated, told the office staff you had a mental breakdown after your heart attack, that you were in a secure facility and couldn't handle stress or communication. He's been intercepting calls, screening emails, running the company like he owns it. He paused. But here's what your son seems to have forgotten, Harold. He doesn't own anything. I looked at him. You still hold 82% of Whitmore Development. Michael is the chief operating officer. That's it. He's an employee, a highly paid employee with no ownership stake whatsoever. But the transfer documents were never signed. You told me 3 years ago you wanted to wait until Michael proved himself, wanted to see how he handled responsibility before you gave him everything. Those documents have been sitting in my office, unsigned, waiting for your approval. I stared out the window, watching Portland slide past. So, legally, you can fire him today. You can terminate his employment, remove his access to company accounts, and have security escort him from the building. He has no ownership rights, no board seat, nothing but a salary that exists because you allow it to exist. If you're watching this and you know what it feels like to be thrown away by someone you raised, someone you sacrificed everything for, then you understand what I felt in that moment. This is Elder Vengeance, where the overlooked always get the last word. Hit subscribe, because what happened at that board meeting 3 days later is exactly why this channel exists. Michael was about to learn the difference between a title and ownership. Gerald looked at me. What do you want to do, Harold? I thought about the concrete, the cold, the cardboard sign. Call an emergency board meeting. I never made it to the board meeting. Gerald drove me straight to the hospital. I collapsed in the parking lot. 3 days of cold and hunger and missed medication had done more damage than I'd realized. Severe dehydration, irregular heartbeat, early signs of pneumonia. I spent 4 days in a private room, IV fluids, cardiac monitoring, warm blankets and hot meals, and nurses who treated me like a human being. Gerald handled everything else. The emergency board meeting happened without me. Gerald presented the evidence, my medical records from the hospital, my statement about what Michael had done, the intercepted communications, the lies he'd told to staff, clients, and colleagues. The 2 minority shareholders had known me for decades. They'd watched me build this company from nothing. They'd watched Michael grow up. The vote was unanimous. On Monday morning, Michael arrived at work like any other day. Security met him in the lobby. I wasn't there, but Gerald told me every detail. Michael laughed at first, thought it was a joke. Then he saw the box with his personal items, his nameplate already removed from his office door. What is this? His voice loud enough for the whole floor to hear. The security guard handed him the termination letter. By order of the majority shareholder, your employment with Whitmore Development has been terminated effective immediately. Please surrender your key card, company phone, and parking pass. Michael's face went white, then red. My father can't do this. He's not competent. He's in a facility somewhere. He has dementia. Gerald stepped forward. Your father is in a hospital recovering from the damage you caused. He's completely lucid, and he owns 82% of this company. You own nothing. Michael started shouting, threatening lawsuits, demanding to speak to the board. Security escorted him to his car. Employees watched from windows as he peeled out of the parking lot. The consequences came faster than I expected. Without his $350,000 salary, Michael couldn't make his mortgage payment. The mansion in West Hills had a $9,500 monthly note. His savings lasted 6 weeks. The bank foreclosed. Then, the cars. Both German sedans repossessed within days of each other. Then, Jennifer. She'd married Michael because he was successful, because he wore Italian suits and belonged to country clubs. She hadn't signed up for a husband with nothing. The divorce papers arrived before the moving trucks. She took Lily and Thomas to her parents' house in California, full custody. Michael got supervised visitation twice a month. If he could afford the plane tickets, I made phone calls of my own. 35 years in Portland real estate. I knew every developer, every contractor, every property management firm in the region. I told them what my son had done to me, told them about the garbage bags and the concrete and the cardboard sign. Word spreads quickly in a small industry. Within 3 months, Michael couldn't get hired anywhere in Oregon, couldn't get hired in Washington. His name had become a warning. Now he lives in a studio apartment in Gresham, works at a hardware store. 43 years old with a business degree from a good university, stocking shelves for $16 an hour. He leaves voicemails every few days. His voice has changed, smaller now. Desperate. Dad, please, I made a mistake. I was stressed. I wasn't thinking clearly. Please just call me back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I delete them without listening past the first few words. Some people ask if that's cruel, if I should forgive him, give him another chance. I think about the overpass, the cold concrete, the cardboard sign in my hand, my heart stuttering in my chest while I ate scraps from a garbage bin. My son didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. So did I. I live in a penthouse downtown now. Views of the river and the mountains. I'm running Whitmore Development again. 75 years old and working 12-hour days because the work keeps me sharp. Lily sends me drawings sometimes. Thomas writes letters in careful handwriting. Jennifer lets them call me on Sundays. They're the only family I have left, and that's enough. If you're watching this and you've ever been discarded by someone you raised, someone you gave everything to, drop a comment below. Have you ever had to remind someone that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty? This is Elder Vengeance, where quiet dignity defeats loud entitlement. Subscribe for more stories of the overlooked getting the last word. Hit that like button if watching Michael lose everything felt like justice. And remember, titles are given, ownership is earned. Until next time, Elder Vengeance never forgets.